Hi everyone, my name is Peter Isesele, and with me today
is Augustina Isesele.
And in this video, we are going to be talking about how to apply for spousal open work permit in Canada. This video is for informational purposes only. It's important for you to also check the CIC website to see if there are other documents and eligibility criteria that we haven't mentioned or things might have changed. So it's important whenever you're applying to check the up-to-date information on the CIC website.
Okay, so there are actually various ways we can apply for the spousal open work permit. We're not going to be discussing everything today. We'll just pick out some and talk about it today.
So one of them is if you're applying for, if you've gotten an admission to a Canadian university, either for master's or PhD, and you're married and you want to come to Canada with your family, you can actually do that. You can apply for your study permit, and then at the same time, you can apply for the spousal, you can apply for work permit for your husband, and if you want to include your kids as well, that is also optional to you. And the other option, the other alternative is if you are already a student in Canada, and so you can actually then apply for your spouse and your kids to come join you in Canada. So we're going to be we did a video a while ago to just talk about a little bit of details about that, but today is specifically for the spousal open work permits.
Okay, so let's move now to talking about the advantages of having the spousal open work permit. So one of the advantages of having this work permit is that you don't need a job offer to work here in Canada, right? And another way is that you can work for anybody. You can work for anybody who owns a business, any organization, any company whatsoever. And also another way, another advantage to this spousal open work permit is that you don't need any LMIA. So this spousal open work permit is actually an LMIA exempt work permit. And then just another information, so as long as your husband has his study permit, that is how valid your spousal open work permit is going to be as well. So if his study permit is expiring, your spousal open work permit is expiring as well.
So which means that when you come for spousal open work permit, you're not just independent on your own, right? So your work permit is still tied to your husband's study permit. So make sure both of you continue to work together. Okay, let's move on now to talk about eligibility. So one of the main things is that both of you have to be legally married, and for the purposes of the spousal open work permit application, they only need a proof that both of you are married. And if you have like a court wedding certificate, that is perfect. And if you've done the full wedding and all this big celebration, that's fine. They don't really care about that, right? So the only thing that they really do care about is the proof, which is the certificate. So if you have that, you're eligible. And the second thing is that your spouse must be registered full-time in a Canadian university. And then another thing is that if you have evidence to show for it, that both of you have been together for a long time, maybe pictures is very important, just to show that it is not an arranged marriage for the purpose of immigration.
Okay, so you might be asking this question, so what am I going to do after getting married? So after getting married, so this is especially for the lady, you are supposed to get an affidavit, right? So it's called the change of name affidavit, right? So where you change your father's name to your husband's name. And after doing that, you're also required to do a newspaper publication. So basically claiming that I'm just going to use myself as an example. Augustina Ewohime, I'm now going to be called Augustina Isesele, right? And then after doing that, so if you're a lady and you're the one coming from, let's say, Canada to, I'm going to use my country as an example, Nigeria, to get married to your husband, you don't necessarily need to change your name while still in Nigeria. You can do that when you get back to Canada or to any other country, right? So that shouldn't be a problem at all.
So one of the reasons why that newspaper publication and change of name affidavit is important is all the documents you've gotten before you got married. You're not going to go to university and tell them to change your certificate, right? Or to change your transcript and everything. So it means that every of the document that you've had prior to getting married, every one of them still remains valid. Okay, So let's move on now to talk about, what are some of the documents that are involved that you need to apply. So if you're applying for, mostly they require what is called a police character certificate. This is just to show that you don't have any crime in your country of origin. And then you need to do a medical test. This is optional for you. If you want to do like an upfront, that's what we did. We did an upfront medical. So she did upfront medicals precisely. So if you want to do that, then you need to book. And then when you submit your application, they are going to ask you, have you performed a medical test in the last 1 year by an approved IRCC physician? When you answer yes, then I'm going to ask you to upload the document, but it's optional. Some people apply for without including the medical report. Then when they are not processing the application, they can then request you to go and do medicals, right? Then you now take that form to go and submit, and do the medicals. And after submitting the medicals, then you can go back and, when you're submitting, you can then upload the document as well. The another thing you also need is the finance. Talking about the lady now, right? You need to show that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of money, right?
Of course, like for we basically, I didn't have to show lots of money in my accounts. I only showed about 500,000
naira, not dollars.
500,000 naira, not even dollars,
Okay,
right? So you don't necessarily have to show a lot of money because they know that you already have someone over there, right? So you don't necessarily have to. I mean, if you have the funds, it's totally fine to show it, but if not, you don't have to kill yourself to get like large sum of money to put in your account.
So another thing is, if your spouse in Canada, if your spouse has some money in the account, is really important, because that way your spouse will be able to say that, oh, when you come to Canada, I will be able to support you, because you might not get, it might take you maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months to get a job. I can't tell, but so your husband should be able to take care of you at that time. So that's why they need to show something, but both of you don't need to show like large sum of money. It also depends, right? If you are employed, right?
Yeah, but just to be on the safe side, it's very important that both of you have like good amount of money in your account, because that could be a red flag. You never can tell. Different people do interview different applications.
Absolutely. And then another thing is, if you are currently working in your home country, you can also show documents like proof of employment. If you have pay stubs to show that, this is how much you are being paid. If you have the ID card of the company you are working, you can also include that as well. And then importantly, educational certificate. That's also important, right? Yeah, because you need to show, if you, let's say you have a B.Sc, right? Then you show your certificate and your transcript. This is just to show them that when you come to Canada, you have the capacity to get a very good job in order to be able to support your husband as well.
Yeah, and that certificate also is going to add to your chance of getting that visa, right? I mean, if you're an illiterate and you don't even have anything to show, like what are you going to be doing in the country? Absolutely nothing. So when you show that, it gives them the idea that, oh, this person is educated, so this person will just come to our country and become a liability.
And another thing is, you need to have your passport, photograph. There's a specific, passport that you have to snap, right? So make sure you get there's the actual dimension that they require, and the color and the background. So you can also always check.
It's always a white background.
White background. Then just check the dimension. And if you go to, let's say, maybe especially places where they are very familiar with Canada visa application process, when you tell them you want to snap passport for Canada visa, most of them will know what you're talking about, right? And then they'll be able to use the actual dimension. But if they are not aware, you give them the dimension, and then they'll be able to work alongside with you. And then you also need to show the data page of your passport. So if you've changed your passport, then it has to now be in the new passport now, okay? And so because you've already included all the affidavit and change of name and everything, so all of that documents that were in your previous name, that's already fine. You don't need to do something about that. And then another thing you need to also include is the actual marriage certificate, which is one of the most important
Very,
thing
very
that you
important.
need to add. So there are marriage certificates, and then there are also some few other things that you can include as well.
Okay, so just one thing I want to quickly touch on is so as a wife of an international student or as a husband of an international student, there is also one advantage that I didn't touch on earlier, which is if you have a job in NOC 0, NOC A, or in NOC B, you can get your PR, right, even before your husband or your wife get to finish their study, right? So if you have a job in NOC 0, in NOC A, and in NOC B, there is every probability that you'll be able to apply for one of those programs that will enable you to get your PR.
So basically, for those that don't know what NOC is, you can check the National Occupation Classification. It's basically grade, how the level of skill required for your job, right? So most of the job that you'll be able to use to be eligible to apply for those PRO, for your spouse, and if you want to apply before you finish your study, right, it's going to be those class of job that will require at least a bachelor's degree to do, or like a supervisor position and some other position. But just go through the website, you'll see a lot of information on that. And then you are still going to need the study permit. In fact, it has to be valid study permit. And one of the things I always advise people, make sure you have at least 1 year validity in your study permit, because it doesn't make sense, right, to say that you have 6 months in your 4 months in your study permit and then you're applying, right? Because by the time they even finish processing all the application and everything, yes, 6 months is already gone, right? So you don't really want to be in that position where you have to start, explaining things, uploading other documents and all that. And then another thing, we've already talked about proof of funds, and then the spouse, that is the one that is studying in Canada, can also show the student identity card, right, to show that they are currently a student. And another important thing is what is called enrollment verification letter. Your husband needs to, not your husband or your wife, as the case may be, whoever is the permanent applicant, need to show that they are registered full-time. And what you use is that enrollment verification letter. You can request for that letter from a university and they'll be able to send it to you. Okay, let's just quickly talk about this, briefly on the last step, how to apply. So basically, you have all of your documents ready, you put them together. So we in the beginning, I talked about we talked about the various ways you can apply. So you can just refresh that once you know the means you're going to be using. So the next thing is to create a profile on the CIC website, and then there's all the questionnaires that you need. You answer all the questionnaires, and then there's going to be the next page is going to be, these are all of the documents that you need to upload, right? So make sure you're going to need to fill a lot of forms, right? Yeah. So both yourself, family information, and then you're going to need the family information for your spouse as well, right? All of their parents, siblings information, they're going to need to fill that as well. And then there's an application to apply for temporary resident permit, so you have to go to apply for that. Then application for work permit. So once you fill in the questionnaire, don't worry, everything you need, all the documents that you need is just going to be itemized, and you can download the ones that you need to download and then begin to work on them, fill them one after the other. And then the next thing is to upload them. When everything is ready, make sure you double check, because you can't really go back and be telling them, hey, I'm sorry.
Exactly. If you don't double check your informations before submitting it, there are some things that if you make any mistake, it could just be a red flag, right?
Absolutely.
So you want to make sure that you double check everything correctly. Don't just do it yourself, ask for help from someone else to double check it for you as well.
Absolutely.
And before submitting it.
Absolutely. And then once everything looks good, then the next thing is to click on pay. When you pay for the visa fee, and you're going to pay for visa fee, pay for work permit fee, and pay for biometrics, especially if this is the first time you're applying for your spouse. And then once the application has been submitted, in about 2 days, they will send you information on a letter for biometrics, and then you go with that letter to the nearest visa application center and do your biometrics. And then begin to, you start to wait for decisions. So in terms of processing time,
yeah, so for the processing time, it's usually between 3 to 4 months, but since the COVID started, it's really changed. So now we don't really know like how long it takes, but before it used to be 3 to 4 months. So hopefully they're really working on bringing it back to how it was before. So hopefully before the year runs out, it goes back to being 3 to 4 months again.
Absolutely. So that is going to be it for today. Just one last quick advice. If you know that you want to apply for your spouse early, you're already making plans for that, and both of you are already married before one of them travel. So start thinking about, start putting documents together, even before he or she travels.
And make sure you get married soon.
Yeah.
You don't want to get married this month and then you're already applying next month. I mean, it's fine, but you just want to be on the safe side,
absolutely,
right? Just so it doesn't look like a planned or an arranged marriage.
Absolutely. So when you get that done, when you apply, such that when you just come to Canada, you don't need to spend 6 months before you apply.
Yep.
Once you come in and you register, the next month you can apply. So a lot of people don't know. They spend like 6 months, 7 months, and then before they now understand, oh, I think we can actually apply. And then before you start putting documents together, a year is already gone and all that. So that's basically it. So we hope you've really learned a lot from this video. I really appreciate my wife for taking that time to share some of the experiences, and we hope you've learned from this video. And if you really liked this video, I want you to please hit the like button. It really helps this video to get more visibility, and to really help our channel to grow, so that we can keep giving you more content. And then if you have any other question based on your situation or circumstances, you can leave a comment in the comment section, and I will try to address the question as soon as possible. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.